戦国秋月城に隠された莫大な黄金と美しい姫をめぐってしのぎを削る敵と味方。世継ぎの姫を守って大胆不敵にも敵中突破を企てる忠義の武将、黄金に目のくらんだ二人の百姓。日本映画界の最高演技人を総動員して描く問題の黒澤明作品、隠し撮りでの佐川国。
冬も16、私も16。命に何の変わりがあろうぞ。
姫様、忠義に準ずるは進化の面目。小冬殿もさぞ喜んで。
嘘じゃ。私が小冬ならこの生き姫おらん。
姫様、お言葉が過ぎませんぞ。それでは六郎太殿の達成がござりません。
どれ六郎太、その方の顔見るも嫌じゃ。妹を殺して涙一つ流さん。その注意顔。姫様、
とにかくあの青大将ただの代物じゃねえや。何を考えてるか油断も隙もならねえぞ。
もしかすると金200貫もとっくに見つけ出してこっそり運び出していくかもしれねえ。こいつはありそうなことだろ。いや、一線に違えねえ。はあ、
やつか意味を言わねえ。やつはい
美女と黄金を守って敵陣を突破する冒険と活劇に満ちた勇壮な娯楽巨編、隠し撮りでの佐川国。日本映画史上最大のスケールを誇る豪華時代劇大作、隠し撮りでの佐川国。100万の大群衆と日本映画最高の巨匠を投じて世紀の巨匠黒澤明がワイド画面いっぱいに描く勇壮豪快な戦国の大スペクタクル巨編。冒険と活劇、スリルとサスペンスにあふれる波乱万丈の物語、隠し撮りでの佐川国。隠し撮りでの佐川国。
当に一つも勝ち目はねえ。俺たちは百姓だ。戦の仕方なんか知らねえ。侍やとだ。
金にも出世にもならん。侍を2人3人集めても背にはつかん。司法に備えるだけでも4。5つ目に2名。わしを入れて7。
しかし戦は結構乗りかするからで。
それはこちらが一人もやられん時の話だ。
待て。さあ一人だけでするものではない。
明日みんな死ぬんだぜ。
人を守ってこそ自分も守れる。己のことばかり考える奴は己をも滅ぼす奴だ。やろう、来やがった来やがった。
And Good morning again, good afternoon, or good evening to you, wherever you may be. It's me, it's Mr. V. I'm coming to you live from Hollywood. It's 10:02 and it's time again for the Film List, brought to you by Chronicalization Project. Daryl will be with us this morning, and visitors like you at patreon.com/visiting with Mr. V. Today on the film list, Akira Kurosawa, 101. Good morning to you, Daryl. Good morning. And we're going to do a little bit of a different format today. Let's bring the music down here and bring it out. Can you hear the blowers outside? No,
Yeah.
good. I got a good mic then. I'm trying to work on my sound levels, but yeah, today we're going to talk about Akira Kurosawa. Let's move a little more quickly today. We're going to have a bit of a different format, and we're going to discuss two films. I'm going to discuss the first one for 10 minutes, then Daryl's going to discuss the second one for 10 minutes, and then if you're in the chat, we have open discussion available to you. So we're going to start. Let me start. Actually, you know what? Let's start real quick with a little hello. How are you? How are you, Daryl?
I'm good. I haven't seen you since Christmas. Actually, I actually saw you on Christmas, which is quite rare.
Yeah.
And then actually after Christmas, I got a cold, and I've actually just getting over it now. So the last 2 weeks I've kind of been dragging along, but yes. Other than that, everything's fine. Now I do have to ask you: are you really close to the fires down there? Are they actually in the Hollywood Hills?
That's a good question, actually. Here, let's chat for a second. Yeah, we've had some pretty devastating wildfires this week in California. It's historic, and so we should probably mention it. I canceled my other show this week just because of the impact. I'm okay.
Right. But you live pretty close to the Hollywood sign, right? Right below it, right kind of at the bottom of those hills.
Yeah, I mean, if like literally, if you could look straight through the wall and there weren't, about a mile worth of houses, 4 miles straight up the hill. Yeah, the Hollywood sign is right there.
And are those hills on fire, or is it?
No.
Okay. All right.
No, this direction
It's
is Hollywood Boulevard.
Yep.
Yes, and if you go as the crow flies about that direction is the Palisades, Pacific Palisades, and not to waste too much time on it, but what happened the first night was there were these terrible winds, and they couldn't get any air crews into the Pacific Palisades, and then the Santa Ana winds were coming down the opposite direction, blowing out towards the ocean, and it just created really just a whirlwind there.
Right.
That was the first night. The second night, the winds died down, and that's actually when the fire started. They called it the Sunset Fire, and it's actually on the other side of the 101 freeway from me. As you go north up the 101, you have the Hollywood Bowl just off to the left. It's the hills up behind the Hollywood Bowl.
Okay, all right.
Across from like Universal Studios, the
Right.
Cahuenga Pass. It's on the other side of
Well, that's like Mulholland Drive up there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. It was Runyon Canyon, which is a big place for people to hike here in LA. People in the industry, you'll see people always hiking in Runyon Canyon. And now, I don't know. Weird offshoot. There was another sign up there. We know the Hollywood sign, but there was another sign called the Outlook sign on that side. And they actually knocked it down during World War II because it was too big and too high. It was bigger than the Hollywood sign, and you could see it from the ocean.
Oh, okay.
And so they didn't want the Japanese targeting it. So they literally just cut it and there's pieces of it down the hill still.
Oh, wow.
Anyways, so I've already used up my 10 minutes here. But
Yeah,
that's
right. No, I was just I obviously everybody hears about the fires. I heard about the Palisades, but I thought there were some.
Well, and then the other direction, you're close. You're this is closer to your heart, Altadena, Pasadena.
That's on fire too.
That was and Altadena got really hit hard. And not to weigh in, people value possessions and things like that, but the Palisades, those were $1 million homes. Altadena, these were old homes, old families, and also I would say normal people. A lot of regular folks lost their homes out there. So, anyways,
your uncle, my uncle Dave, lived in Altadena. I mean, our whole family is my mother was born in Pasadena, but Dave actually lived in Altadena for many years back in the 60s or something like that. So yeah, that's an old.
And didn't your grandfather build a house in Pasadena or
Pasadena? Yep.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
One of the very first homes.
Right off of Colorado Boulevard. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, so let's
get back.
let's get back to the show, right? Let's stay
get off the history and go to film history.
Yeah. So we actually, I want to have a little more relaxed format. I want to have a little more energy, but I want to be able to flow a little more fast and loose with this thing. We talked during the holidays, and we said we need to make it more quick, and need to make it more interesting. Need to make it shorter. Right. So let's get into it. I have some notes here about the Hidden Fortress, and I actually have. Whoa! Hang on. Things going off automatically. I was going to do a quick screen share, but let me start. I made some notes here because you can't begin any discussion of the Hidden Fortress in our modern day without mentioning Star Wars. Sorry, Daryl. I know you. It's not your favorite thing in the world, but take a look. Take a look at this. Cancel that. Go over here. Yeah, let's watch this one. There we go.
Okay.
The Hidden Fortress is an Akira Kurosawa film released in 1958, and it is widely known to have provided a great deal of inspiration for Star Wars. In this video, I'll be showing you some of the major influences that the Hidden Fortress provided for A New Hope. The film opens with two bickering characters wandering through the desert. These characters are perhaps the biggest link between the films, as Lucas mentioned he was intrigued that Kurosawa's film was told from the point of view of the lowest characters and not the heroes of the story. After an argument, the two characters part ways only to be captured and reunited. They are made aware of a princess being hunted by an evil empire, and they become helpers of the legendary samurai general Makabe, who is working to get the princess through enemy lines to safety. She is headstrong and independent and heartbroken at the destruction of her people. During their travels, Makabe is able to misdirect and outsmart his enemies with ease. The general must face a former friend in single combat. He wins but spares his enemy's life, who later returns badly scarred. He has a chance for redemption and helps rescue the heroes in the end. Outside of the story and characters, the filmmaking techniques are very similar, including the use of wipes or similar shots. If you've never seen the film, it's pretty interesting watching how some of its elements were adapted and repurposed by Lucas. That's it for today. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share to see new Star Wars videos every Monday.
Okay. Just whoa. Go back over here. Okay, so I want to do this right here. So I'm just going to show this video in the background here. That gave you a quick breakdown on the comparison and some of the things that Lucas borrowed from Akira Kurosawa. I say borrowed with a question mark. There are a lot of people who think that George Lucas just steals stuff, or is he paying homage? That's the question.
Yeah, that's an age-old question, and yeah.
Let's keep the discussion on Kurosawa, okay, the filmmaker, the visual eye, the cinematography. I'm reading my notes here. The mise en scène, and what Lucas learned from him. Okay,
Yeah.
because everything's been we can't say everything's been done before, but Kurosawa wasn't the first one to do a lot of this himself.
Sure.
Uh, you see, that's the reason we watch these movies, to see the origins of these ideas. So this is an auteur. Okay, he fills the screen with movement. You can't stop watching, um, even with the dreadful soundtrack that puts you to sleep. And I was going to play some of the soundtrack, but I don't want to get copyright banned here. But he's able to make you watch this movie again and again. I've watched this movie again and again. I keep coming back to it. I've seen it several times, more than several times. Well, maybe 10. And after a while, you begin to feel like this movie's kind of like a vision. It's kind of supposed to wash over you, like a drifting dream. I'm just reading my notes here as I was walking around Hollywood yesterday, thinking about this movie after watching it again. But if you watch the visuals here, you can focus on a single thing in the frame, or you can just sit back and you can watch the rainfall. There always seems to be some movement in the frame, and by the way, this is Kurosawa's first widescreen attempt. And having said all of the above, hang on, let me switch again here. Turn the sound off here. Just to give you some background here. This was his first widescreen attempt, and having said that, he's still able to guide your eye across that wide frame. There's always something. Sometimes he moves from a close-up to a medium shot to a long shot in the same shot.
Yeah.
You have Kurosawa, not Kurosawa, Mifune, his main stable actor right there. There's Mifune. He runs right down into the frame. He's got such a great expressive face too. He knew how to find the right actors and to use them again and again, like someone like Orson Welles. Had his stable of actors. So the what else here? Oh, yeah, there's the shot right there. See whether, but yeah, we're kind of clipping around quickly here. This was the first film. Well, I shouldn't say it was the first one, but the multi-camera technique was used during this movie. He shot with several cameras at once, especially during the duel between Mifune and his teacher or something like that. And that's again another thing that Lucas borrows for Star Wars, that duel between the two masters.
Right.
Let me keep up with my notes here. So, for all the reasons above, this is a great movie, but you don't have to think about that stuff. You can just watch.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
You don't have to. Yeah, you have to read some subtitles. That bothered me the first time I watched it. I watched this movie for the first time in high school because you told me to.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I remember having to read it for the first time. I think it was my first subtitle movie. And but if you go through it again, you have the patience again and again. There's some really funny stuff, some really funny dialogue, and I can't remember. Each time you watch a movie, each time you come to a text, this is the point of why I'm telling you. I watched this back in high school again and again. In high school, I had no idea what a foreign film was. I didn't know what subtitles were. Now, today, I look back, and now I've lost actually some of the funny stuff that I don't know why it was so amusing to me. These two guys are just hilarious.
Oh, am I the only one that sees Laurel and Hardy in these characters? Because
another great reference. See, that's
the first time I think probably the first time I watched this film, I'm like, that's Laurel and Hardy. It's just like,
yeah, these and we can go really, really deep with this. Is the thing. Lucas is borrowing from Kurosawa, who is borrowing from myth and legend. We're
Right.
talking about Joseph Campbell, the hero with 1,000 faces, the hero's journey. And by the way, anybody out there who is interested in talking about this, if you know what I'm talking about, if you have interest in it, I'm a specialist in this, believe it or not, I really am. You can take a class with me and we'll go all the way through the hero's journey. I'll show you how it reverberates up and down through history, and here it is. These two everymen, right? This everyman,
Right.
these two guys who are forced into a situation they don't want to be in, along with Mifune's character, the samurai. He's just doing his duty. He's doing what he has to do.
Right.
But there's different levels of the hero. So these movies can be watched on many different levels. There's a comicalness, there's to this, and it's almost, well, it's not almost, it is. It's kabuki. It's
Right.
kabuki theater, and it's
Right.
done on purpose. Don't get
Sure.
me wrong. This stuff is Kurosawa would ask each of his actors to choose a little tick that their character would always do, something, shrugging their shoulders or something. And Mifune's really good at it, because these are the things you don't see. You see, on
Right.
a subtle level, but then the big kabuki stuff, whenever somebody is ashamed, they're way down ashamed. I'm ashamed, so to wrap up my segment here, it's a huge overall composition.
Yeah.
And we were watching the Dark Crystal, the making of the Dark Crystal series last night, the new Netflix series, which is amazing, by the way. If you're into Jim Henson, there was one guy who directed 10 episodes of that. That's like directing 5 movies simultaneously. Okay, that's amazing.
Wow.
Kurosawa did the same thing back in 1958 with this movie, literally choreographing battle sequences.
Yeah.
Hilarious too. These guys, they scrabble up the mountain to try to get up there, and then Mifune's already down there. He's like, "There's a shortcut,
Right. Right. Yeah.
I'm not going to dig into the storyline, the plot of all that, because I really just want you to watch it and don't think, "Oh, it's Star Wars." It's not. Okay.
There's some really good stuff. I mean, it's kind of a road movie, right? They're traveling across, they're traveling through enemy lines to get to a safety and all that kind of thing. So there's a lot going on, and it's kind of a backdrop of a war. But it's
she's the rebel princess who's got to be escorted.
And it also ends up being
she's a strong female character, by the way.
Right.
Okay, we're always talking about, oh, Mary Jane, we're so woke. Look at this.
Right. Yeah. No, it's just it's a very personal, small story, but it's also a grand story. It's as most movies end up being. It's like you need some personality to kind of hang the thing together. So anyway,
I had a note in there too about each of the characters is so well defined, right?
Yeah.
And see, we're even jumping ahead here a little bit. I don't want to get too far. This is just visual for the background, but you've got the westerns there and stuff like that.
Right.
So
he was a big admirer of John Ford, which I think is probably obvious too, because it's kind of regurgitating, I guess. But that I read this quote when I saw this, I read this somewhere, I don't remember where, that he was not as well liked at home as he was internationally. And my theory was that's the reason we like him is because it seems very Western. It seems very John.
That's interesting. I wondered about that. I was going to ask you.
Maybe in Japan he wasn't as well liked because of that. I don't know.
So when you were a young man, do you remember these movies coming out?
No, these came out in the 50s.
Right. Okay. Right. So did you see them in the theater? Did they have a theatrical release in America?
They had repertory theaters back in the 80s that I used to go to. Right. I don't know which movies I saw. I know I saw Ron because it came out like 85 or 6. So I saw that in the theater in first run. But some of these other, I think maybe Seven Samurai I saw in the repertory theater. But I'll tell you, I mean, I bought a VCR. I was kind of an early adopter on the VCR. That changed my life because you could just go down and rent all these weird movies that you're never going to see on television. And that's really where I watched a lot of these things. And you just kind of like get into it and you hear about this movie and you hear about that and you run off. And so you just watch different things. So I don't remember when I first saw this, but probably in the 80s sometime.
I saw it first on video during the 80s. I'm sure it had to be, but I don't know where I got it from. I know a friend of mine had a copy on Laserdisc. It's one of those movies that gets treated like gold.
Yeah, right.
And let's be honest. It is quote just an adventure movie,
Right.
I mean, like you said last week, I'm going to watch the greatest films of all time. Then you sit down and you watch Citizen Kane, and it's like, wait, what? Like, I mean, that's a technical, just like this. They're technical. Well, this is an adventure movie, different from Kane. But to my point, as we get ready to talk about Seven Samurai, I wondered while I was watching this. So if they were released in America, and that's interesting that you say he had more success maybe with his films in America. Do you think?
I recall reading that he was more well thought of internationally than in Japan. And his success international, I think it was Rashomon was the first one that I think won major awards, and that was the one that kind of put him on the map internationally. And then all of a sudden, everyone's falling over themselves praising this guy. And then we're watching these movies out of order, just so you know, because Hidden Fortress is actually kind of one of his later ones, and Rashomon is later on in my film list somewhere, but that's an earlier film, as is Seven Samurai. But anyway, the point is that kind of put him on the map, and then all the international people, the Fellinis and the American guys, all Orson Welles loved him and so forth. So I don't know that he wasn't successful at home. I just remember reading that quote, and it's like, well, maybe that made sense. Is that there is a real Western sensibility to that to his films. So
interesting.
Anyway,
all right. Well, not to belabor the point, but he does do a lot of that kabuki theater thing, and I wonder whether him trying to mold those two together, that Western sensibility, maybe that was off-putting to people in Japan who thought, well, are you making fun of us? I wonder, or maybe they were like, no, these are our way, because there's a big thing like with culture divide, like they didn't want to bring the martial arts here and stuff like that. Well, that's China, but anyways, okay, hang on, let's get over here to our next film. And Daryl is here to tell us about Seven Samurai.
Now this is, I feel like this is probably his most famous, well-known film. And I just actually do want to back up a little bit, because if you look at his body of work, he started off, his first film credit is in 1943, and he was making films during the war. There's actually an interesting, I think it's called The Most Beautiful. It's a propaganda film made during the war, about these factory workers who need to really put out all that they can put out for the motherland or for the war effort to help society. And it's like, I watched it and I'm like, wow, it's just like an American film at the same time. It's just, we're all in this together kind of a thing. But he made most of the early films he made were present day films after the war. I mean, there's some really good ones in there. Rashomon was the first costume drama that he made. And then I feel like what he's mainly known for in the West is Rashomon, Seventh Samurai, Throne of Blood, Hidden Fortress, Yojimbo, and maybe later on Kagemusha and Ron. Those are all costume dramas, and so it's like, oh, he's the guy that makes samurai movies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he made other things. Just so you know, Drunken Angel is unbelievable. Stray Dog is great. He made some really good stuff with Toshiro Mifune wearing a suit. So it's like it's not all costume drama. So
yeah,
Seven Samurai to me it's another adventure yarn. It just feels like an American Western. It's basically it has the Western kind of motifs of good versus evil, and you know, helping triumph over you know, basically the plot is a little village is beset by bandits, so they're going to go find these ronin, which are samurai who are not I guess free agent samurai, if you will, to help come and protect this little village. And so there's a lot of, you know, helping the weak over the strong and all that kind of thing. There's a lot of cultural things going on there with the peasants versus the samurai. Toshiro Mifune has actually one of the best roles for me in the film. Is he's a poser, he's a pretender. He wants to be a samurai, but he's not. And so it's actually what this movie is about is they hire 6 samurai, and he's kind of tag along hoping to be a samurai. And then during the film, he exposes that he's not a samurai. He doesn't have the discipline. He doesn't have the
Bushido code.
Yeah,
he doesn't follow Bushido.
Right. And he doesn't have the skills, but he also ends up, you know, showing bravery and you know, making himself useful. And so, and he kind of ends up in the end being a honorary samurai. So it's to me, this is a guy's movie. It's just like, you know,
well, and he's one of these 7. We almost have 7 archetypes here, and you know, again, these archetypes, as the visual comes in, it shows across the different films and stuff. People can relate to that character, you know, the guy who, I want to be the samurai, but just because I wasn't born a samurai, I can be one. No, you can't.
Exactly. Yeah. The guy, I'm trying to find that guy's name. Who's the guy that the main guy?
The older guy there. They showed him here. Let me go back.
Yeah, I can't remember the actor's name, but he was another.
Is that who you're talking about? Yeah,
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but he's another kind of Kurosawa stock actor. He was in a lot of his films too.
Right there.
He's great in here. He's very, very disciplined, very stoic.
Takashi Shimura.
There you go. Yeah. Anyway, so I don't. To me, probably even more than Hidden Fortress. This is just the ultimate guy movie, the ultimate Western movie. You know, they remade it in America as the Magnificent Seven, which is not bad. Actually, it's not bad at all as a film, but it just pales in comparison to this film.
It does. It really does. I mean, it's considered, and I know Roland is watching us from Austria in the chat. Roland says that's one of his. I think you said it was your favorite Western. That music from Magnificent Seven is iconic.
Yeah,
Elmer Bernstein.
Yeah.
But it does come full circle. You have Kurosawa, who's a fan of John Ford, and then it's John Ford, right?
John Ford. John Sturges.
John Sturges is now imitating Kurosawa, imitating Ford.
Right. It honestly, and I'll say this is for my age, back in the 70s, 60s, these movies are on the TV all the time. So how many times have I seen Magnificent Seven? A million times.
See, that's what I'm
And
asking you. Okay, so when these films came out,
mhm.
were they a hit in America?
I mean,
A
not
quote
Seven
hit,
Samurai. Seven
right?
Samurai was never on television that I know of. Not. I'm talking about Magnificent Seven was, but
Oh,
so what
right.
I'm saying is that sort of, we just watch those kind of movies all the time.
Yeah.
And like I say, to me it's a guy movie. I don't know if my wife has ever seen either of these movies, but it's just the ultimate, it's a feel good movie. It's an easy movie to watch. There's not a lot of moral ambiguity to it. It's the in later years, Magnificent Seven has kind of suffered from the concept of, the white guys go in to save the poor Mexican villagers and all that baggage.
Well, it's funny because yeah, I'm looking at my notes here. Other movies that reference Seven Samurai, Three Amigos is
Yeah.
literally what you just said. It's a comedy take on it's three amigos, and they're literally the white guys are gonna go save the Mexican village.
Yeah.
Bug's Life.
I was going to say, I saw on Wikipedia there's a whole slew of movie that the thing of let's get the gang together. I guess
Yeah.
some of these comic book movies are the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
In
all
the end,
kind
it
of comes from
certainly
there.
was. Yeah, yeah. Well, all the Marvel movies are based on templates. If you're talking about, Captain America 2 Winter Soldier is basically a 70s espionage movie. And then you get to Avengers and it's Seven Samurai. Let's get the team together. So,
Yeah.
oh, that's Roland says it's his second favorite.
Quigley.
Yeah. That's so funny, Roland. I remember talking to you about that. Yeah, he likes Quigley Down Under with
I
Tom
don't
Selleck.
think I've ever seen that movie.
That's a later Western, came out in the
That's in the
80s.
80s and then 90s.
Yeah, and I think I know they were taking advantage of the fact that Tom Selleck was like a hair's breadth away from being Indiana Jones, but he was contracted on Magnum PI, and so when he was done with that, I think it was even Universal said, "Hey, let's make an Indiana Jones type movie with you." And so I think that's why I didn't even see it. I was kind of like, you guys are fakers. Same thing happened years later with Pierce Brosnan when he wanted to be James Bond. The first time around, he was contracted to Remington Steele, and then they waited until his contract ran out, and then they finally gave him Goldeneye. Not to babble too quickly, I am watching the clock, and we're right on time. Did you want to show us anything today? I don't know if you can do a screen share or not. We were
No,
trying to do
I
some
mean,
production.
you're doing all the videos, so that's great. I mean,
Okay.
I think we're covering it. I don't. To me, it's like it's. I don't know. I don't know what to say about them as far as like they really do. They really do kind of fit the Western, the American Western mold, but they're really good, and they're really good adventure tales. And I think we kind of beat it to death now, but as a director, as a visual artist, Kurosawa is just second to none. He just, you're talking about multi-camera. He apparently in Seven Samurai used multi-camera to make sure that some of those action sequences would be able to edit, seamlessly and so forth. So I don't know. I have a huge admiration for him. I think he's
really the same.
Top 3 or 4 directors, favorites of mine. So
yeah, I can't disagree. You've got to again tune into these little details. And then while this massive thing is washing over you, there's this beautiful shot that comes to mind where this guy's got a spear and he's backing. Oh, no. He pulls his sword out, and as he pulls his sword and drops it down, like 7 guys behind him. I can't describe I can't do it visually because Kurosawa did it, like 7 spearmen are backing up as he pulls his sword down, and all the blades at once are just
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
getting
yeah.
chills right now just thinking about it.
Yeah.
That's the power of
You
this,
know, and
filmmaker.
I'll throw out this little tidbit of trivia. He was a painter. He was a visual artist. How he started as a young man was, I don't know if it's like oil painting, but he started out as a graphic illustrator artist, and that's how he got his start in the movie industry. I think with illustrations, and then kind of worked his way up into director. So he is a very visual guy, I guess is the point, which is quite obvious, right? Watching
Quite
this.
obvious. Yeah,
Oh
definitely,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Have you seen Dreams?
No, I never saw that one. I don't
That's
know.
another one
That
that
came out much later. I don't remember.
it might have been his last film. I don't
I
know.
think it
It's
was. It
available.
may
It's
have
on
been.
Netflix. If you've got, I always like to let people know where these movies are available streaming. Seven Samurai, Hidden Fortress are not readily available unless in America you have HBO Max. They are on HBO. I happen to have a copy of Hidden Fortress on disc.
I think I do too.
Totally lost my thought there. But
Dreams. You're talking about Dreams.
Dreams, yes, because as I said, it's okay to watch these movies again and again and again and again.
Sure.
My way of watching a movie sometimes, because I have the luxury of the modern age, I can just put the disc in the machine and just put it on repeat, and I just let it play. Seven Samurai probably played 150 times this week. I just let it play. I mean,
Yeah, wow.
Hidden Fortress. I just let it play and play and play, and then I look over, and it's that constant. That soundtrack it's really makes you kind of sleepy, and I think it's
Yeah.
on purpose. I really
Yeah.
do. He
Yeah.
wants
Yeah.
you to kind of be lulled into this sense, and Dreams it's a series of vignettes. I haven't finished it yet. I wonder if it's autobiographical. I haven't dug into it. I don't want to know what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, that visual, he's just a visual artist all
Yeah. Right.
around. So
Right.
let's go back here and real quick here. Come on, there we go. Adding to the list really quickly. You've
Well,
already mentioned
like I say,
Rashomon.
what's on my list is definitely
Mhm.
Rashomon. Rashomon may be the best of all of his films, and so as much as we're, uh, you know, praising Hidden Fortress and Seven Samurai, Rashomon is probably better.
Rashomon
Rashomon's
was
very.
the first hit,
It's a
right?
small film. It's a quiet film. Very very powerful film. Ron.
Is that the one that is the same incident? There's a
Yeah,
rape,
from different
and it's
viewpoints.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
yeah.
Rashomon. Okay, yes, that's
Which has been, I mean, that's talk about borrowed, ripped off homage to death. I mean, it's just
yeah.
yeah. Ron is great, partly because it's in widescreen color, and
Yeah.
so for the modern viewer, it's like you can even see in Hidden Fortress all the costumes and all the samurai robes and all the flags and all the stuff that they have, that all comes to life in Ron. It's just
Yeah.
it's stunning. In fact, it got an Academy Award, I believe, for I don't know, costumes or art direction or something like. Anyway,
Let's keep pulling
visuals.
this thread though, because it's Macbeth or Lear. It's Lear.
It's King Lear,
It's
an
King.
old
Yeah.
an old king who's dividing up his kingdom to his sons and
Daughters.
well, yeah, well, in Ron, they're sons. So
Are they?
you're right. King Lear is actually daughters. In Ron,
I haven't seen Ron in a long time.
it's sons. Yojimbo's another great one.
Wait, hold on. Wait, I
yeah.
don't want to jump to that yet. Because
Okay.
I want to again I want to kind of pin this to make sure we recognize this. Macbeth, Lear, Throne of Blood is Macbeth.
Throne of
That's
Blood
another
is
yeah.
Macbeth. Yeah.
And Throne of Blood is available for free on different streaming services. I watched that
Okay.
this week. There's an amazing Throne of Blood is Mifune is basically Macbeth, and there's this shot at the end where he's pinned up against a wall, and these arrows, like 30 of them at a time, are just like flying into the wall, and the look on his face is sheer terror. And you know why? Because it was real. Kurosawa was like, "We're just gonna fire these arrows at you, Toshiro. Get out there, let's go." And he's just like, "What?" Oh, you know. And so it's amazing. But again, these threads, these undercurrents. Okay, this is the thought I'm having. When I watched Hidden Fortress, I was so dumb in the 70s. I actually thought, and in the 80s when I watched it, that there were still people in Japan living that way. I thought he was filming. I didn't realize that it was a Shakespearean character drama. See, that's what he's doing. He in his own culture, he's doing what Shakespeare did, drawing from his history, but then he's reaching over to the West, pulling in Macbeth or Lear.
Yeah.
Masterful. Just masterful.
Yeah.
Go, Yojimbo.
Oh no, Yojimbo's a good little it's another American Western. In fact, it was remade as not as American Western. It was actually remade as a spaghetti Western. But it's a really good little, it's a outlaw comes to town and stirs things up. It's kind of funny, and it's he's a bit of a I want to say borderline superhero. He just seems to come in and do whatever he wants, and whatever he wants to do always works out. He takes on 15 guys at a time and comes out victorious. It's a fun movie.
And this is inspired what specific spaghetti Western?
A Fistful of Dollars.
Yeah. Clint Eastwood, that whole, and that spawned a whole. Now Roland will say that's not a spaghetti Western.
And it actually
real specific. It's an Italian Western, but
what? Anyway, we'll save that for a different day. But
yeah,
Kurosawa sued Sergio Leone.
Yeah, he's like, "You're stealing this from me, dude."
So,
there was an actual lawsuit there. Okay.
All right.
Well,
so what are we doing next week now?
I just want to mention Roland in the chat here says, "Yeah, Kurosawa inspired so many Western directors, modern directors, Tarantino, Quentin
well,
Tarantino."
To put a fine point on ripoff / homage is Tarantino is the absolute king,
right?
And right. I don't know. I'll say that ripping off is great when you do it well and make it your own, which is Tarantino's talent. He regurgitates old Hong Kong kung fu movies, and
which I think were inspired by this stuff. I think the Hong Kong,
but he makes it his own, so it's not.
Yeah,
that's why it's not. There's no criminality involved when you actually make it unique and make it different. So
to bring the conversation full circle, back to Star Wars. I'm going to say something snarky here. Okay. George Lucas is able to pay homage, to highlight these things, make it his own, just like you said Tarantino does. You don't realize he's, quote, ripping it off.
Right.
But someone else, I would say, like maybe Brian De Palma, is not quite so successful at that. For me, it's more obvious what De Palma is pulling from. And I don't know why it is. This is no insult to Brian De Palma as a director, but it's just a little more obvious to me in that case. So what are we doing next week? Let me switch the thing here and put this on the widescreen so that people in the audience can read it, and I'll grab my book. Please let us know, what do you think? What else belongs on this list with Akira Kurosawa? This is just Akira Kurosawa 101. We'll do Akira Kurosawa 200 next. We'll do
Exactly.
deeper. Please comment now, and thank you for Roland for commenting as always. While you're down there, please don't forget to like this video, please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell for more content like this. Weekly, we're here with the film list. Please share this with friends, family who love film, and just a quick blurb. Join us Wednesday for my new show, Collecting Wealth. What do you collect? Just a worm in your ear. A worm? Is that right? Put a bug in your ear? Yeah.
Worm sounds weird.
Yeah, right. Yeah, earworm. I was talking about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy with somebody yesterday, and I said, oh yeah, I love that thing in the book, the earworm. And the guy said, no, I think it was called a babelfish. I'm like, oh, that's right, it was. It was a fish. But it comes from the same thing. Okay, Kurosawa. We've got we got Paul Newman. Boy, oh boy. I kind of want to slow down. Maybe Paul Newman we haven't done. That's a kind of a left turn. Or silent horror films. Nosferatu just came out. They just did. I should maybe we should go see the new Nosferatu. Maybe I should force you to go see that. Should we go do that, and then we'll do silent horror films? Or you know what? Let's do this. Let's do Paul Newman next week.
Wow. All right, we're gonna go.
And then we're going to try to go see Nosferatu, right? I shouldn't say try to. We'll go see Nosferatu, but we might not get there this week, is what I'm saying. It might take a couple weeks till we can nail it down.
All right.
So Paul Newman next week. We've got The Hustler.
The Hustler and Cool Hand Luke. Those are some good movies.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I've seen. I've seen the sequel to The Hustler.
Yeah.
The Color of Money. With Tom Cruise, he plays basically the same character in there. But let's
all right, let's do that. Those are, those are really good movies.
Which one have you not seen in a while? Which one would you like to watch again? Because we gotta watch it in fresh.
I could watch either one of them. I don't know. They're both.
You know what? I want to watch Cool Hand Luke.
All right, so I'll do The Hustler then.
And maybe I'll contact you this week if I can't find a copy of it. We'll see if it's available streaming. I'll look. But Paul Newman coming up next week on the film list.
Paul Newman was a great actor. I was gonna mention that you said something about going to see Nosferatu. I actually went to a movie theater over Christmas for the first time in probably 15 years, maybe 20.
Wow.
Not maybe 15 years. I saw the Bob Dylan movie.
Oh.
And I kind of liked it. It was actually pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I'm interested because I'm not. You're a huge Dylan fan.
Sure.
I was more of a Tom Petty fan. You got me that way. It's kind of funny how our generational thing works because people used to make fun of the way that Tom Petty would sing. Like they used to make fun of the way that Dylan would sing. And then they toured together in the 80s.
I saw them.
Right, you saw them, and then you got all excited about Tom Petty, and that's actually some of my first music. But okay, but give us something more about this movie. Why was it a good movie? Why do people need to go see? What is it called?
It's called A Complete Unknown. I don't know that I particularly learned anything. I've never read a book on Bob Dylan, so I'm not a studied, student of Dylan, but I know the stories. I know a lot of the stuff that happened, and I know the music, and so none of it was a surprise to me. I was with my daughter Allison and her husband Ian, and for them it's all completely new, and then they were all excited, and so we spent the rest of the weekend listening to Bob Dylan.
Are they already Dylan fans though?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know that. I feel like Bob Dylan's one of those people like the Beatles that you just, even if it happened way before you were alive, you still kind of get drawn into it and you still are aware of it. So they've listened to it before, but they got quite excited about it, and they were watching. They started watching the 1965 movie Don't Look Back, which we didn't get very far with it because it was kind of hard to watch with a big group and everything. But anyway, so yeah, they thought it was great. They really enjoyed it, and then they were asking me all these questions. Did this happen and did that and da 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 da? And it's like, because it ends with the famous 1965 Newport festival where he plays electric guitar and pisses off all the folkies, and it's like,
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
That's
it's entertaining, and I have to say that the actor from the very beginning, as soon as he starts, you're like, man, this guy.
Timothy Chalamet.
Every
young man.
Nuance, every mannerism.
Yeah.
The way he sings is like unbelievably.
Yeah, he's got that kind of.
Yeah.
Weird, like head.
Really,
does
a great impression of. He doesn't really. To me, he doesn't totally look like him, but it's like he impersonates him so well.
Embodies
that you. Yeah, well, that's probably a better word, but yeah, he impersonates him so well that you just kind of forget, and it's like, and then Joan Baez is really good. The girl that does her is really good too. So no, it's actually really. Like I said, I haven't seen a movie in a theater in ages, but it was actually fun.
Well, get out and see Nosferatu. And we'll do that one in a couple of weeks. We'll talk about silent horror films. Next week we'll talk about Paul Newman. And Daryl, let's wrap it up. Last thoughts?
Last thoughts is we set out to do a half-an-hour show today.
Yeah, we did it.
And we ended up with 55 minutes, so not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad at all. Let's put the music up here and let's say next week we'll try to do a half. That's kind of what I wanted. We email, then we do discussion, and this was fun.
Yeah. All right.
Bye for now.
See you later.